So I have here a brand new release from San Martin. It is GMT, however, these days it is not easy to surprise anyone with a GMT watch, and so San Martin let their creativity do the work. The result is interesting, the color is quite unusual, and yet it kinda works. We also have interesting use of materials, like for example the bezel insert is not ceramic, but it is not a mineral glass either. Then the dial construction is very unusual too, not something I've seen on San Martin skin divers before, and as a cherry on the top, the bezel lume is unlike on any other San Martins I've reviewed in the past, so it looks like they managed to pack a lot into this, at the first glance, simple GMT watch, and we have a lot of interesting bits to cover, so enough talking and let's take a closer look. Hello and welcome back. So I will start with the design, although we can clearly tell that the Mercedes Hour Hand and a Lollipop Second Hand have been inspired by another well-known brand. Still, there are a lot of interesting design decisions here that are not common for this style of watch. But before we dive too deep into the design analysis, for full transparency, San Martin sent me this new model for review and I get to keep it. So thank you, San Martin marketing team. On my part, I'll do my best to share a comprehensive review of this watch, and I will of course put all the necessary product links where you can find it in the description of this video. Okay, first let's take a quick look at the colorways on offer. This watch comes in 3 main color combinations. All 3 are a bit unusual, but actually look quite attractive. So we have purple, green and brown one that I have here in the studio, and it looks like for about extra $50 give or take we can get the brown version on a metal bracelet too. Okay, so we already touched on the handset, which isn't that unique, and we have kinda aged color lume, which works well with the overall sort of vintagey aesthetics of this timepiece. However, the most interesting design element on the dial is actually the dial itself, or the background to be more accurate. It is a so-called sandwich dial, with our indices being essentially the cutouts in the dial through which we can see the lower layer of that sandwich. And that lower layer is usually quite generously covered with lume. Such dials are very often used on the diver watches because they result in a very strong lume performance, and rest assured we will test it in a moment when I run my usual 15-minute lume test. Another very interesting design element on this watch is the bezel. At the first glance it is a normal 24-hour bezel, which allows us to track another time zone on this GMT watch. It is also bidirectional, which is good. Now, when it comes to the bezel insert, well, San Martin decided to use a sapphire, which I think is a great choice of material because of sapphire scratch resistance. However, it is not all. The lume bonanza on this watch does not stop just on the sandwich style dial. We also have fully lumed bezel, and while fully lumed bezels are not that uncommon, San Martin took it a step further and used reversed lume on the lower half circle. That is, looming the background rather than indices, resulting in a quite unique look, which not only looks interesting, but is of course also very practical. And just in case you think we are done with the interesting design elements here, well, we still have to take a closer look at the supplied strap, which we will of course do a bit later in this video. Okay, so despite all the curious design decisions, when it comes to dimensions, we thankfully get here a very normal and versatile set of numbers. So this watch has 40mm case diameter, the bezel grip slightly overhangs the case, giving it a slightly bigger visual diameter of 41mm. Lug width is 20mm, case height is 13.7mm and lug-to-lug distance is 48.7mm. So this watch should work on wrists starting from about 6 inches and up. The supplied suede strap will cover just over 8 inches or 20.5 centimeters wrists in circumference, and this watch weighs 91 grams. Pretty good weight for this style of watch. The dial is covered by a double-domed sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. And of course, this watch is powered by a very familiar by now Seiko Instruments NH34 GMT movement, a very popular and very reliable Japanese automatic mechanical caliber made by Seiko. It is a color GMT movement, it beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour and has about 41 hours of power reserve. When it comes to the case, well, case here is pretty much straightforward too. Full stainless steel construction with a satin brushing finish on the top and on the flanks, and high polish chamfers on the sides. It is a classic kind of skin diver or spot style watch shape with no crown guards. We have a well-proportioned screw-down crown with engraved San Martin logo, and the back of the case features a sterile screw-on caseback, ensuring those 200 meters of declared water resistance. As for the bezel, I like the Sapphire bezel insert here. In terms of build quality, this bezel has well-machined gear-shaped grip, which provides plenty of traction. The tolerances around the bezel mechanism are nice and tight, and there are hardly any backplay or sideplay for that matter to speak of. Now, the bezel action though deserves a special mention. It is okay, however, it is not the most, how can I put it, engaging bezel action I tried, especially on San Martin watches. The resistance is sufficient and it kinda gets the job done, however, it doesn't feel as tactile as on other GMT bezels on other San Martin models, and kinda strangely, it almost has no sound. And here is how it sounds in comparison to other San Martin. And now turning our attention to the dial, as we already established, it is a sandwich dial, and all we left to do now is to see the result of that sandwich design, the Lume. So here is my 15-minute Lume test. I think I actually ran it for longer because the Lume here just lasts and lasts. And of course, we shouldn't forget the Lume pattern on the bezel. Quite unusual and quite useful too. Definitely makes the bezel more legible in the dark. As for the supplied suede strap, well, again, it looks quite normal at the first glance, however, at close inspection we can see a really good attention to detail. So first we have here quick release spring bars, very practical, and the more often I swap the straps on my watches, the more I get to appreciate the convenience of this simple functionality. Then, if we look at the sides of the strap, we can see the rubber-like seal. My guess is that this is to prevent the water from getting in between the layers of the strap, as well as to keep the sides of the strap nice and tidy for longer. And we also have a well-sculpted stainless steel buckle with embossed San Martin brand name. And here are some shots of this watch on my about 7-inch wrist. Very versatile proportions and good compact lug-to-lug distance makes it a very easy to wear timepiece. Right, so what's my verdict? Well, from my perspective, San Martin keeps on fine-tuning their design style and continues to experiment with new colors and materials, and personally, I like the result. This particular model has a lot of interesting design twists, and yet it looks very much normal, actually kind of like a cozy vintage piece of clothing that will guarantee to make you feel nice and comfy once you put it on. And if we look from the perspective of affordability in the realm of macro brands, San Martin still is extremely competitive, delivering a ton of value for money. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And for more San Martin watch reviews, and I have plenty of those, check out my video on the screen over here. Don't forget to like and of course subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.